working on a lesson from section 10.5 today, and this is dealing with samples and population. So we're going to have some vocabulary, or a bunch of vocabulary for you to write down, and then we're going to do 4 problems. Okay. Vocabulary. First, you need to know what a sample is. A sample is a randomly selected smaller group used to represent the larger group. For example, we have our entire school. Okay, that could be a sample of our entire school district, all the students in our district. That would be our school could be the sample, all the students in it. Or we can even do smaller, like one of my math classes could be a sample of all of the students in the school. Okay, so it's a smaller piece that's supposed to represent the entire population. Population is the larger group. So now we're going to talk about an unbiased sample versus a biased sample, and each one has some even more specifics to it. An unbiased sample is a representative of the larger group. It's selected at random and large enough to provide accurate data. So it's going to give everybody a chance to kind of be surveyed. Okay, it represents the population very well. Now, if we did like just the middle school out of the whole district, well, that's not fair to all the elementary schools and the high school. So that's not a good representation of all of the students in our district. 3 types of unbiased samples. A simple random sample. Each item is as likely to be chosen as any other. Put every single student's name in our district in a hat, and we pick out. Everybody has an equal chance of being chosen. That is a simple random sample. Each item is as likely to be chosen as any other. Please pause me if I'm going too fast for your writing. A stratified random sample. Stratified, the population is divided into non-overlapping groups, and a simple random sample is selected from each group. So if we put all the names of the hat for all the middle school students in one hat, all the high school students in another hat, all the elementary school students in another hat, and we picked randomly, that is still everyone has a chance of being selected. They're just grouped in non-overlapping groups. Okay? And our last one is a systematic random sample. So instead of everybody like in a hat, items are selected according to specific time or interval. So we could do this like as the kids are entering the building, we choose every 10th kid, and we do it in every school, so everybody has a chance. Every 10th kid gets asked the question, or every 2nd kid, or something like that. So it's by a certain time or a certain amount that we ask. So 3 types: simple random sample, stratified random sample, systematic random sample. So all of them are random samples. Biased sample is a sample that's not a good representation of the population. That's like if I asked all the middle schoolers a question, but didn't ask the high school kids or the elementary school kids, that would not be fair. 2 types of biased samples. One is a convenience sample. This includes members of the population that are easy to access. I have access to the middle school kids, so that would be a convenience sample if I had to ask them questions than trying to get to the high school and the middle school. Voluntary response sample involves, that should say only those that can participate. Meaning, if I just gave you all a piece of paper and asked you a bunch of questions, only the ones that actually returned it back to me, that would be a voluntary response. And I didn't ask them all and make them answer right then and there. Voluntary meaning they don't all have to do it. Okay, so we're going to do 2 vocabulary questions, and then we're going to do 2 where you're going to do some calculations with this. Okay. I'm going to have you copy down this problem, but you do not have to copy down number 2. So yes, copy down this one. To determine the passengers' carry-on bags, to determine which passengers' carry-on bags are to be inspected, every 8th person to check in will have his or her bags inspected. Okay? Identify the sample as biased or unbiased, and then describe its type. Explain your reasoning. Okay, first we have to decide, does everybody have a shot of being selected. Is it biased or unbiased? This is unbiased. Everybody has a chance of being selected to have their luggage inspected. So unbiased is our first answer. Then it asks, identify, we did that, identified as biased or unbiased, describe its type. So out of the three that we just wrote down, this one would be called systematic random, because we're doing it every 8th person. That's systematic random. And then it says explain your reasoning. Well, because people are selected at an interval. Okay, so this is the first problem. Let's try another one. Okay, you do not have to copy this down. Read it with me, see if you could do it, even pause before I do it, and then maybe see if you can get it right. A hardware store wants feedback on its products and service. The store includes a telephone number on each receipt so the customers can call and participate in a survey. Identify the sample as biased or unbiased and describe its type. Explain your reasoning. So you have to think, does everybody have a shot, or is it biased and not everybody has a shot to answer this survey? In this case, this would be a biased survey. The reason why it is biased is because only the customers who participate, the customers are the only ones who can participate, okay? Because they're the only ones who are going to get that receipt. So it's biased because only customers can participate. Okay. There's two types of bias, and in this case is the voluntary response one. Because they don't all have to call in. They might not want it. They probably just check their receipt and that person didn't have a shot. Voluntary response. Okay, for sake of time, I think I'm only going to do one more question with you, and that'll be it for today. Okay, we're going to do this one. It's validating and predicting samples. Please, I know this is a lot, but copy this problem down. If you want to do it in shorthand, you can too, which means write down the important parts. Mr. Galingo surveyed every 10th student, so that would be an important part. Every 10th student was asked in the hallway to see where they would prefer to go on a vacation. 48, this would be an important part, 48% preferred the beach, 36% preferred an amusement park, and 16% preferred the mountains. Is this sampling method valid? Is this valid? Okay, well, everybody has a shot of getting called. Every 10th student has a shot of being asked. So yes, this is valid. That's our first question. Yes. If so, that means if yes, how many of the 560 students in the school, that's another important piece, would you expect to say they prefer the beach? Well, if we have 560 students who are in the school, and 48% said that they prefer the beach, we're going to do 48%, so 0.48 times the amount of students, 560. And this will give us an estimate of about what's the amount of kids that are going to prefer the beach. Let me grab a calculator. We have 560 times 0.48. We get, okay, well you can't have part of a person. So I'm going to round that up to about 269 students are going to say that they prefer the beach. And we can explain this because this is a systematic random sample. Every interval of students is asked. So our explanation, which is the last piece, would be this is a systematic random sample. Okay, so tomorrow in class, we will we'll talk more about populations and samples and identifying if they're good samples or not. That's it. Have a good day.